share, recipe share. Share a little recipe with Recipe Share. Recipe Share, Recipe Share. Share a little recipe with Recipe Share.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Recipe Share, a program on AADL TV where we take a few minutes to talk about recipes in a featured category. Today's category is Very Berry. I'm Katie, and as usual, I'm joined today by Elizabeth and Beth to tell us about their recipes. So Elizabeth, tell us what you chose today.
Okay, I'm excited about this one. I was a little nervous at first because as you both know, I'm not a big baker, and I was thinking of what to do with berries, but then I remembered one of my favorite childhood memories is baking blueberry muffins with my mom and sister. So I texted my mom and I was like, hey, wasn't like that blueberry muffin recipe we made from like the original Betty Crocker cookbook? And she's like, yeah. So she sends me a picture of it, which I'm going to include here because the recipe is like covered in blueberry stains from my sister and I like making a huge mess. It's actually called Best Ever Muffins. And then there's a blueberry option and a jelly option, which I've never made. We always made the blueberry option. So I decided to make these with some great Michigan blueberries that I grabbed at the farmer's market. And it's super easy. Of course, not being a baker, I don't have muffin tins. So I made blueberry bread. It was totally fine. It's super simple. It's 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/4 cup of sugar, 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon salt, 1 well-beaten egg, 3/4 a cup of milk, and then 1/3 a cup of, it calls for salad oil or melted shortening. I use Crisco. And you put the dry ingredients together, put the wet ingredients together, combine them in a big bowl, and then fold in the blueberries gently. It's the easiest possible thing. I was thinking back, I'm like, this is why we made it when we were little kids, because we could do it so easily. I did it in a 9x13 dish that I just greased, and it worked out great. It tasted just like I remember them tasting. The really good, like local fresh blueberries were just so good. I mean, they're just delicious. It only calls for a cup of blueberries. I think I put in like 1.5 cups because I like it to be super blueberry. It puffed up nicely. I think it would probably be like a little nicer in a muffin tin, but the bread was totally fine. It was delicious for breakfast. Wake up with coffee. It only has the 1/4 cup of sugar, so it's not particularly sweet, but the blueberries really make it a little sweeter. I was delighted. I always avoid baking, but this was just so easy and yummy that I think I might keep doing it, and I might even buy a muffin tin so I can make actual muffins. So nothing inspired, but I did like the story behind that, and I'm really excited to share the photo of the recipe because the stain is just so funny. And I don't know if I said this, I do have a photo of the bread coming out of the oven, and it looks nice too. So that was my best ever muffins from Betty Crocker with the blueberry variety.
Well, I think that is inspired, honestly, to put the muffins in a bread tin, I think is genius. I don't know that I would have, maybe I would have gotten there, right? Like it makes sense, but I have a muffin tin and now I'm thinking, wait, maybe I should make muffins in the bread tin because I could see how it could almost be like more transportable, where you could then take, if you were going on a trip, like take the loaf, that's everybody's breakfast for the morning. I don't know. It just seems like a really good idea. I love it. I'm going to run with it.
Yeah, sounds simple enough. And, muffin tins have their place. I think you would end up using them for things, but you can also obviously live without them.
Yeah, or at least I have done so for 31 years. So hopefully. Cool. All right. Beth, tell us about your very berry recipe.
All right. Well, I also went with blueberries, and I used a recipe that is just such a ridiculous name that I felt like I needed to share it. It's called Blueberry Boy Bait. I sure you know, boys were baited in the baking of this cake, but it's a cake and it's very actually sounds really similar to what you made as muffins, but it originally utilized 2 cups of sugar and I put in 1.5. And it also called for 1 cup of blueberries and I put in 2. But otherwise it's just like, it's flour, sugar, baking powder, butter, milk, butter, softened butter, a cup of milk, which I used coconut milk. And then, you mix it, you put the blueberries on top, you sprinkle cinnamon and sugar on top of that, and then bake it. And I do have a picture. I'm wondering if I might play with it again and maybe add the blueberries to the whole thing, which is probably what yours was like, right, Elizabeth? Because when you see it, it's just the blue is on top, and I like the idea of having the blueberries mixed in, but it was super simple. And my mother-in-law must have got this from the Kalamazoo Gazette 50 years ago when it was okay to bait boys. I also, with some more blueberries that I had, I threw together a blueberry shrub. Do you know what that is? Okay, so
yes, I can't wait to hear about this. Yeah,
it's just blueberries and vinegar. I made a half a batch, so I just used one cup of blueberries, half a cup of cider vinegar. It's fermenting in my refrigerator. It could be done today. They say it takes up from 2 days to 2 months. When I decide it's done, I guess I cook down the liquid, add sugar, and then it's used as a sweetener for like mocktails or cocktails. So I figured, what the heck, I'll try that too. So
it's like a syrup, kind of?
It's, yeah, I guess it ends up being a syrup, but
it's not as thick. It's
okay.
like thinner than a
it's just like a
syrup,
like a simple syrup kind of.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know how tasty it'll be, but I noticed at some of the fancy cocktail places where they'll say like there's something shrub in it, and when I've had it, I've been expecting like a little like shrub, like a thing. It's not
like a bush,
like a
little bush.
That's what
right. It's not
Where's
that.
my
So
bush?
I found this recipe, and now I don't even remember the cookbook. I've picked out a couple other things I'll be making from it, but really simple, and figured, what the heck.
I'm excited to hear how it tastes. I got really into shrubs a couple years ago and made some, and I just like the vinegar taste. It's like a combination of sweet and then vinegar, which in my palate just tasted really good. So I would mix them a lot just with like sparkling water, and it would just be kind of like Katie, you were talking about like a new flavor of water, which was just kind of like refreshing from time to time, and then they're great in drinks too, but versatile.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it out. So and I'll let you know.
But Beth, your cake, would you call it was like kind of like a coffee cake?
Yeah, it's a coffee cake. It's
okay.
totally coffee.
Okay.
It was really good for breakfast as well. Great with coffee. I put a little butter on it. It was a perfect morning breakfast nosh. So very similar though. All right, Katie, what did you do for very berries?
Well, you'll never guess which berry I chose, but I chose blueberries too. My recipe comes from this cookbook, which is called Blueberry Love. I actually checked this cookbook out from the library a couple times, and then I was getting sad that I had to give it back. So I eventually just bought it. It's 46 sweet and savory recipes for pies, jams, smoothies, sauces, and more by Cynthia Grauber. I really like it because I really love blueberries. I also really love cookbooks that center on one ingredient. I think they're super interesting. So I love this cookbook. It just occurred to me the other day to look to see if she had any other cookbooks, and she does. We have a couple of more of them at the library, including this one, Strawberry Love, which I was like, why didn't I look and see that before? So I just really just checked this out from the library yesterday. So I have not even cracked it open, but I'm very excited to look through Strawberry Love as well. Maybe we'll have to have another berry episode since this is basically the blueberry episode.
Yeah.
But from Blueberry Love, the recipe that I chose to share with you today is warm grilled chicken and blueberry salad. So this is kind of like a riff on a sort of traditional chicken salad that I grew up with, which had your red grapes and celery and walnuts and mayonnaise all mixed together, which is something that I grew up really loving and still love. So I was excited to try this version with blueberries. Basically, just start by grilling your chicken, and she gives a really good instructions on how to grill your chicken with a grill pan on the stove, which I appreciated. But then the dressing for this is the real reason why I wanted to share the recipe with you guys, because rather than using mayo, you stir together Greek yogurt, lemon zest, lemon juice, and garlic powder. And that's your dressing. And I thought it was so good. I loved it. I always have that stuff. So I definitely will be using that for chicken salads in the future, not just this one. So once you've made your dressing, then in your bowl, you put your chicken, blueberries, celery, red onion, and the yogurt mixture, and just mix it all around, put in some salt and pepper. As I was making this recipe, I was like, I know I'm going to be missing the walnuts that I usually like in the traditional salad, but I'm just going to make it and taste it and see. And yes, as soon as I took a bite of it, I was like, nope, needs walnuts. So I chopped up some walnuts and threw that in here too. But other than that, I added nothing. It was wonderful. In the picture here, you can see that they serve it in like some lettuce cups, which I think would be great. The first time I served this to myself, I put it on a bowl of arugula, which you can see here. That was really good. And then the next day I just made myself a big old sandwich with it. And then the last day, I think I ate it with a fork out of the container at my counter. I finished it off, the whole thing. It was so good. I will definitely make this again. And I actually was thinking I'll probably make it pretty soon. So I have a beach trip coming up, and I think that this would be an awesome thing to throw in the cooler for a little beach lunchtime. Really good recipe. It was really nice.
I was just thinking, Katie, that sounded like fabulous for a summer picnic, and like to just like have and keep it in the cooler, and then it's like refreshing but also like hearty so that you can like continue with your activities. That's awesome. That sounds delicious to me. I also would miss the walnuts, and I also feel like you could still, did you say there's celery in it?
Yes.
Okay, because I was going to say, because I would put celery in it too. So, okay.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I like chicken salad with fruit in it from time to time. And blueberries are a nice addition because they're tart and sweet, and obviously we all like them.
Yeah.
And it's blueberry season, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially right now in Michigan, everybody's got blueberries on the brain for sure. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching Recipe Share. Be sure to click the link below to look at the event page on aadl.org to find the recipes that we talked about today and to share your own in the comments. Join us next time when we'll be having an herb celebration. We're looking forward to seeing what you've been making, so thanks for sharing.
Recipe Share, Recipe Share, share a little recipe with